Just this last weekend, Valiant Renegade met with Gina Carano at the Knoxville Fanboy Expo, and he asked her directly, would you consider settling with the Walt Disney Company? And I think her answer might surprise you. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is Mr. VashSky. Vash, are you ready to talk about the Gina Carano lawsuit?
Oh yes, always ready to talk about the Gina Carano lawsuit because, man, does it have implications for everybody, including the Walt Disney Company.
That's very true. For those unfamiliar with the matter, in the first quarter of 2021, the Walt Disney Company, actually very specifically Lucasfilm, made a very public statement saying that they are no longer working with Gina Carano, making a very bold public statement. And bold is putting it lightly. Saying that they have nothing to do with Gina Carano, and they were condemning the statements that she made on social media and alleging that she was going after specific groups and comparing people who had been victims of atrocities to political parties and things like that. It was a ridiculously overstated statement by Lucasfilm, obviously signed off on by Kathleen Kennedy. She had also been subjected to struggle sessions within the company where they wanted to correct her viewpoints on biological issues and things like that. Well, since then, Elon Musk has helped to fund a lawsuit by Gina Carano going against the Walt Disney Company. Currently, we are waiting to hear whether or not the judge has dismissed this case. To say it plainly, the judge did not seem inclined to eat up all the things that Disney was saying. Despite some of her stances in being a Biden appointee, she wasn't picking up what Disney was throwing down. Obviously, nothing has been said publicly about this by the judge. The case has not yet been dismissed. But the question on everyone's mind is, if this case does not get dismissed, how quick would Disney try to settle? And there are comments from Gina Carano here, our friend Valiant Renegade, and I won't point out the timing of this until the end. He was at Fanboy Expo this weekend at a very significant time for the country, but this question was being asked at that time, and this interaction happened at this time. This is a video that is over on the Valiant Renegade channel. It's 4.5 minutes. I've gotten permission from Valiant Renegade to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to react to it right now.
Having covered, I know some questions have come up today about lawsuit, whatnot. First of all, thank you for doing that. There's not many people who will have the courage to stand up to the Walt Disney Company because they want to run people off. And you've got a great team of lawyers behind you, thanks to friends like Elon out there. And we covered some of that lawsuit stuff that is going on. I know things are still proceeding, but I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I don't want you to divulge information, obviously, that you can't. But I have a hopefully simple enough question.
By the way, I need to point out at this point, Gina Carano knows who she's talking to. Obviously, Valiant knows who he's talking to. They have met previously to this. I'm just going to add that context for everyone else here.
We've had a lot of legal experts weigh in on it, on our coverage. A lot of big-name First Amendment experts that have been to SCOTUS. They look at your case and they go, you know what? There's a lot of good stuff here.
All right. I also need to add that that is very specifically referring to people like Andrew from The Legal Mindset, superstar lawyer over there, and of course also Ron Coleman, who is the lawyer of record for That Park Place. He is a person who has argued cases successfully before the Supreme Court. He would pretend to be humble about it, but if Ron is sane, he knows that he's the real deal there. So, Ron, I hope you're listening. Reach out to me, buddy.
One of the most common questions that I get is, do you think if it comes down to it, and Disney's back's against the wall, as it may well be in this case, if they offer a settlement, do you think you guys are going to walk away or say, man, let's keep going? I don't know if you can answer that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
You know, I kind of go back and forth on that, and I'll be real honest with you. I feel like at some point, when is this all going to stop? When is somebody going to stop them from treating people the way they've treated people, or how should we get treating people like this? And then the second part of my brain is I've been through a lot in the last 4 years, and I want to tell stories, and I don't want to constantly be in court or constantly be political even.
Okay, Vash, Gina Carano here is responding with grace, by the way. She responded with grace to, as I've heard from people at this event, she did a pretty good job of handling a lot of stuff. Younger fans came up and asked her questions about being courageous, asked her questions about her history with MMA and things like this. And right now, she's talking about something that I think is pretty legitimate. She is an actress. I believe that she's obviously a producer. She's been a lawyer. I've also heard that in the past. She's been a fighter, a literal fighter there, and not just the figurative fighters that we would call ourselves when we talk about issues where the truth is important and not having its day in court. She's also stating that maybe she would like to get to be known as a person who does creative work, even though I would say right now there's some benefit to her here in that everyone knows her name in a way they wouldn't have known her name if this had not been foisted upon her. So, Vash, do you have any thoughts on this right here? Is the political aspect getting in the way of Gina's career, or is it boosting her career?
It's an interesting thing because, career is I think is the defining thing there. If it is, a quest for popularity, well, she certainly has knocked it out of the park on that front right there. And we've heard certain celebrities, like for example, certain sports figures who may make a comment and you see their jersey sales pop up, right? And it's like, oh, well, that's pretty good. But they obviously, they can stay within their teams or organizations and have a successful career there. What's interesting about Gina's case is that she was sort of blacklisted by Hollywood when Lucasfilm took the actions that they did against her. And so, and by the way, folks, if you're going to fire somebody, don't include why you're firing them in that whole thing, at least publicly in the way they did. Never in writing, always in cash, folks. But anyway, that's kind of what happened here. And look, I have heard nothing but amazing things about Gina Carano, and this is not a criticism of her or a critique of her. I just want to put that out there first and foremost. I think she has maybe reassessed after the Daily Wire collaboration right there, because I think maybe that perhaps maybe pigeonholed her in a way that she didn't necessarily anticipate or want. And her kind of stepping back a little bit on that and becoming a figure in the way that she has, really kind of, taking the fight to Disney and looking to improve the treatment of its cast and people who work with Disney overall, I think is a great thing.
You do make some good points. I'm gonna push back slightly here. I think that the Daily Wire probably, and I do believe that contract is still out there. The Daily Wire has not moved fast enough on that. There were some other comments at this panel, as I understand it here, that might speak to that. As far as the popularity thing, I want to point this out before we continue with the video. This is a big con. This was Knoxville Fanboy Expo, and Valiant was there. There were some That Park Place reporters that were there. And there's a fascinating phenomenon here, as these entire events are based around people that everyone is excited to see. That's the entire demographic of the business model here. Obviously, you have people who are excited to talk about comic books and want to buy merch and things like that, and genre fiction and things like that. But having celebrities come and do signings, that is pretty much the business model here. That's the draw that gets people to come to one of these events. I'll give some hard data here. As of this particular con on this particular day, it was on Friday at 10 a.m. was the official opening time. Gina Carano had a line, according to reporters, that was very long. And I'll quantify this a little bit better. There were people there like Peter Cullen, Ray Park, the actress, a lovely actress who played a Twi'lek in, I want to say, The Return of the Jedi, in the Jabba's Palace section. Giancarlo Esposito, who is obviously in Captain America 4 and famous for Breaking Bad, among other shows. Of course, Better Call Saul included in that. There was also Rob Schneider, John Lovitz, people that pretty much everyone would know who they are on some level. All Muppets, Steve Whitmire, Bill Beretta, things like that. The thing that I want to say here is it was very clear that Gina Carano's line was, if not the longest line, it was definitely longer than all of the other Star Wars people. The only lines that rivaled it were Ray Park, who had yet to open his booth by 11 a.m. No shade on Ray Park. Everyone has scheduling issues. And Peter Cullen, obviously the voice of Optimus Prime, legend in the voice acting space and legend to a lot of people in this space. But Gina Carano's line might have been as long as Peter Cullen's line, and it had already been going for 2 hours by the time our reporters were able to confirm. By not just an hour before opening, they went ahead and got her there and got her signing early. An hour after that, it was still the longest line and maintained its length for most of the weekend there. So I would say that Gina Carano, if she is not the headline of most of these cons here, she's pretty close to the top of it and continues to be classy and inviting. Force of Light was there and posted on social media about how much they enjoyed meeting Gina. And I think this is becoming an issue here where I think Disney is in fact ignoring a large segment of their audience because they want to make these political stances. And I think they assume that they read the room because they're assuming that everyone that they're marketing to is exactly like them. If they want to be a global company and they can't even market to an entire nation, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, if I can throw that in there, which is really 50 nations in a trench coat pretending to be one nation. But whatever. I think that they are struggling here to understand what's going on. Gina Carano, clearly the most popular of the signers at this convention, but they want to play their games. Let's continue on.
You know, I think we have a really strong case, stronger than most people on the internet will let you know. And I think so. Very, very positive because I don't have anything to hide. And so they have everything to hide. So I would be very nervous if I was them. So I pray that when that comes, if that comes, that I make the right decision. And I feel like it'd be a success story. Well, I feel like it already is because as soon as that lawsuit hit, I had incoming phone calls, and I've had such support from people that needed to see somebody fight back. And thank you to Elon Musk for doing that. That has been one of the most incredible blessings of my life because just him doing that made people's brains understand, you know, for some reason, and it shouldn't be like this, you shouldn't have to take somebody to court for somebody to respect that you were disrespected. But it really turned people's brains onto, oh, okay, she's fighting back. And I'm definitely willing to go full on. If it has, I would go full to the end.
Glad to hear it. You know what I think the biggest difference is? What I think the biggest difference is on the two sides of this case is as simple as this. For Disney, this is about the money, their money to defend. For you, it's not. It's just about what's doing what's right.
Right.
And I think that's what puts you in the position that you are, which is great.
Well, and it's just.
Now, this is the thing that I've left out of this so far. Knowing the timing of this video and the statements that Gina Carano is about to make, there were big moments that were happening in the news this weekend. This was recorded in the afternoon on July 13th, that Saturday. So when we hear how Gina Carano talks about the climate in America, just keep in mind what was going on at the exact same time.
It's something moved Elon Musk to go and defend people and use his money to help defend free speech. And he's been changing lives, not just lives, but nations. And I fear where we would have been had he not stood up and done this thing that was placed on his heart. And I think God's using him in an incredible way. And I hope that continues on. But as far as my case goes, I'm pretty much playing it just like you all. I'm playing it day to day. I'm trying to stay healthy, eat healthy, work out, take care of my family, take care of my animals, get my business done, and focus on putting something good out in the world. Because each individual person, if we do that, we're going to make and hold on to America and hold on to the U.S. and come together, because we are all just human beings and we're very flawed. So if we hold on together, let's get this country back.
Amen to that.
Amazing to me that was obviously she didn't have her phone on stage and the incident happened at that exact same time.
Wild.
Yeah, this blows my mind, honestly. Also, the fact that I like that she's indicating that maybe she won't settle. It's her decision whether or not she settles. I hope that it's not just about the money. But if it's a lot of money and maybe we can get Disney to admit that they did something wrong here, then I think there's something to be said for that. This is also whether or not he wants to weasel out of it. This is while Bob Iger was still executive chairman of the Walt Disney Company. So while they could try to put it on Bob Chapek, Bob Iger was definitely there and approving of whatever was going on there at the Walt Disney Company. Vash, do you have anything that you want to add here other than that Valiant Renegade is obviously a very bold man who's willing to take over a Comic-Con panel, even when he is not invited to secret council?
You heard my comments when we initially saw this. Was the great thing about Valiant, he's still Valiant no matter what. So I thought it was really very amusing. But no, I think it was a great question, and I think she handled it just absolutely beautifully, like she does pretty much everything, basically, and profound because, well, following the July 13th incident, Elon Musk had some very interesting comments and so forth, and his platform was used in the dissemination of information that was quite profound. So what she says about him, well, that's an interesting thing as well. Here's the thing about the whole settlement thing: if in fact a settlement agreement could be reached that, you know, maybe profoundly changes in a definitive way going forward the treatment of cast and employees under the banner of the Walt Disney Company, and that might be a thing worth settling for. It doesn't just have to be about money, folks. So that's an interesting thing to kind of consider too in this. Look, she's all about unity for the entire country, and so I think she's just a beautiful person inside and out.
Yep, I would agree with you there. Also, one thing I want to point out, one of the best tweets I read over the weekend, X was the place to go if you wanted to understand what was going on. As long as you understood that not everyone knows what was going on. If you wanted to know, what's that quote? And Denzel Washington repeats it, and sometimes it's attributed to him, although he's not the originator of it. Maybe he helped make it more famous. He says, if you don't read the news, you're uninformed. And if you do read the news, you're misinformed. I keep thinking about that a lot of X. If we didn't have X, we would have a very different understanding of the events over the last weekend. Not to try to remind all of the three-letter agencies of just how much they don't have control of the narrative there. All right, that being said, I want to throw this to the commenters. What do you think about this statement from Gina Carano about the settlement that has not yet materialized, or whether or not she should settle even? We would love to know your thoughts on that in the comment section down below. Of course, like this video if you like this video, and consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.